What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about what's happening with the overall markets. I'm going to break down why the market saw a big sell off today after CPI came out. We got a hot CPI, everything was above expectations, but then the market got bought right back up and we made a full recovery. So I'm going to talk about what's going to likely happen tomorrow, looking at the charts, what data is coming out that's very important, and also what Donald Trump is saying involving his tariffs, because we have a very important update about that. Now the White House is saying that Donald Trump will make the announcements tomorrow. So I'll talk about what's happening with all these headlines and what's going on with the charts. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market's going, okay, we got the CPI reports in the morning. What happened was all the numbers for CPI were above expectations. Everything was basically above expectations, from core CPI month over month being at 0.4% and 3.3% year over year. Everything was above expectations and an increase compared to before. And then for all items CPI month over month and year over year, we got 0.5% and 3%. Everything was above expectations. So CPI went up. This is what the chart looks like. We got an increase in CPI for all items, increase in all items without food and energy. We continue to see not the best of numbers. This made things very complicated for the Fed, very complicated for a lot of different policies. And despite that, the market dumped really hard. We saw this big dump all the way down to 598 on SPY, dumping about 7 points. And then as time went on, the market got bought back up. Then we had Jerome Powell, who was giving his speech today. He was testifying in front of the US House. He continued to say that although inflation is elevated, it is in control and it's going to be meeting the Fed's targets. He calmed people down. He started to say that there's going to be a soft landing. Most likely, we're on track for it. He said the US is not in a recession and things are looking pretty good. He continued to hold his same views. He did not answer, the questions about tariffs and things like that, because it's not really in his place to do that. And he's trying to be unbiased as the Fed chairman. So he continued to help the markets. The market started pushing upon his words, upon his, his overall testimony. And then the market continued to hold up very, very nicely. So the market is still holding up quite well. And we're looking a bit more bullish right now. So that's very interesting. But there's two catalysts for tomorrow. Number one, we have the PPI data report coming out. So what is that? It's just like CPI at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for tomorrow, which is going to be Thursday, February 13th. We have the PPI report coming out, core PPI, and then all items PPI. That's just like CPI, except it's wholesale inflation. We saw CPI go up, so we'll see if PPI goes up or not. We're expecting a slight increase in the month over month for all items PPI. And then for core PPI, we're expecting to be a little bit of an increase. We're expecting about the same number for core PPI year over year. And then for the month over month, or not month over month, the year over year data for all items, we're expecting a slight increase. So we're expecting it to be the same or slight increases in PPI. We'll see if we get that. That's the first catalyst for tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. The second catalyst is going to be Donald Trump and his tariffs. We're going to talk about this. What's going on, guys? Why on earth is the date changing so much? Let me give you guys my honest assessment. So all Donald Trump said today involving tariffs was that he wants interest rates to be cut. He does not agree with what the Fed is doing. He criticized Jerome Powell. And then he also said that that's going to go in line with his tariffs. But that's pretty much it. That's all he said. He did not make any significant announcements. And this is ironic because the headlines have been telling us lots of things. He's been saying a lot of things, and we've been hearing a lot of things from his advisors. And so far, we haven't gotten the tariffs yet. They were saying a bunch of things. So let's actually go over this again. In all honesty, guys, I'm not trying to be like the boy who cried wolf, who keeps on, continually telling you guys that the tariff news keeps coming out. It's more like I'm simply just reading headlines. I'm listening to what Donald Trump is saying. I'm listening to the White House, and they're the ones who keep on giving these dates. And that's the reason why I want to report it to you guys, because I'm trying to be unbiased here. And as day traders, I do believe it's very important for us to know about this, because this could affect things depending on what Trump says. So just to clarify, okay, this is what happened, okay? Last week on Friday, the market sold off because Donald Trump said He's going to be announcing reciprocal tariffs next week. He's going to make the playing field more even. And he was saying that he wants to do this on any country that has imposed duties on the US. That's what Donald Trump said last week. He also mentioned that he's going to be making the announcement. So this is what he said last week, on Monday or Tuesday. So that's the reason why I was talking about this. I told everyone to be ready. On Monday or Tuesday, Trump was supposed to make this announcement. That's what he initially said. Then what happened was on Monday comes of this week, and then Donald Trump, he did announce 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, but he delayed when he was going to be announcing the reciprocal tariffs on a bunch of different countries. He started to say that it's going to likely be on Tuesday or Wednesday. So keep that in mind. He mentioned that if they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way forever. He mentioned that he's doing this for fairness. He doesn't want the US to be in a disadvantageous state, if anything like that. And he's trying to be doing what he deems best for America. So this is kind of like what his view has been. He's trying to make the playing field more even, like he said. And so basically, we waited for Tuesday. That was yesterday. We waited on Tuesday. We didn't hear from him. All right. Wednesday comes. We also didn't hear from him so far, but we did get some updates from his advisors and also from the White House. So all these headlines were coming out today saying that today Donald Trump could announce the tariffs, this and that. His advisors were saying that today could be the day. They're making a lot of progress with negotiations and this and that. That's what they were saying. So they were saying that today could have been the day for him to announce the tariffs. Instead, he didn't do it yet. So, we were told that he was going to do it. He was going to do it. He just hasn't done it yet. Mainstream media was saying he was going to do it today. I haven't heard it yet. So far, it's pretty late now. And then what happened was people were confused about this. People were wondering what's happening. Where are the tariffs? And then what happened was many reporters started to ask the White House what's going on with them. When is Trump going to finally make the announcement? And now the White House is saying that Donald Trump should do it tomorrow on Thursday before he meets up with India's prime minister. So it's just wild. We were first being told it was going to be Monday or Tuesday. Then it went to Tuesday and Wednesday. Then on Wednesday, now they're saying it's going to be tomorrow for Thursday. So this is just crazy, guys. We're waiting to see when we're officially going to get this. Trump said that he plans to slap reciprocal tariffs on every country that imposes import duties on the US. Those are his words. We heard the White House press secretary come out, and she said that she does believe it's going to come tomorrow before Donald Trump meets up with India's prime minister. So keep that in mind. The prime minister of India is coming to America tomorrow to meet up with Trump. And before that happens, they're saying Trump should be making the announcement. I believe his advisors said that he was about to make the announcement today, but now they're saying it's going to be tomorrow. She also mentioned that she's going to let Trump discuss the details on the tariffs, but it's something that he strongly believes in. So Trump said it's very simple that if they charge us, we're going to charge them back. And he said again that he wants to charge every single country. So the list goes on. When is Donald Trump going to make the announcements? Honestly, guys, I don't know. I don't truly know when he's going to make it at this point. They keep on delaying it over and over again, right? We were told Monday and Tuesday, then Wednesday. Now it's going to be for Thursday, tomorrow. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow. At this point, maybe it's going to be tomorrow. The White House press secretary is saying it's going to be tomorrow. He should be making the announcement. So we'll see about this. I also want to mention that I don't know exactly what he's going to say. Are his tariffs going to be very extreme on Germany, the EU, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam? Is he going to make them very extreme? Are they going to be small tariffs? Will he only include 5 countries this time and then more countries later? Or is he going to be announcing them for like a bunch of different countries? I don't know yet. And that's why there's this uncertainty right now. We're just waiting to see what he's about to say. So we'll see, guys. When the market opens tomorrow, just keep in mind, we also have some earnings coming out. We have for tomorrow just Datadog and a few more like John Deere and Crocs. Then we have like Coinbase and DraftKings, but nothing too significant for tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. Besides that, the fear and greed index is currently at fear. That's making up the majority of sentiment. It's getting very close to neutral as buyers are returning. Momentum is at fear. This could shift as the market continues to climb up. The put to call option ratio is neutral right now as we approach the things that are happening so far, and the VIX is in a neutral place, so we'll give this some time. On top of this, let's just be very, very blunt. The main thing is the main thing is PPI tomorrow. Excuse me, PPI is the main thing. When PPI comes out, expect a big move. The market looks bullish approaching this, so we'll see just to be safe. And then we'll have to see if Donald Trump finally gives us his tariffs. Will he finally announce the tariffs? They've been saying this every day for the week that it's going to be tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Hopefully, tomorrow is it, and we can just get this out of the way, and we'll see what the market ends up doing. If his tariffs are very extreme, the market could sink. If not, it might not affect the market way too much. It depends on what he ends up saying. If he announces these tariffs like the way he described them, like he said he's going to announce them for every country, he wants to make fairness and this and that. If he does that, that could cause the market to slow down. That's the most likely possibility, but we'll see just to be safe. Anyways, that's what you have to watch for tomorrow. Minor earnings, PPI, then we'll see if Donald Trump says anything or not about these tariffs. Looking at the charts, SPY is looking pretty good. So we had a low down here around this 590 area. We made a higher low right here at 598. And what's interesting is that we dumped after CPI came out. It was not a good CPI. The numbers were hot. And then the market just got bought back up like it was nothing. So it just goes to show how manipulated the market is. Even if inflation is going up, which makes things complicated for the Fed, the market just rallies like there's no tomorrow. So with that being said, what do I see for tomorrow? It does look like SPY wants to go for this resistance again for 605. That's the most likely possibility we push a bit higher. If we break this, we do favor 608 or so. 608 could be coming if we see a nice bounce and a breakout right here. So please keep that in mind. And whether or not we break this depends on more factors. But for now, we are favoring this as the most likely technical move. Now, PPI comes out tomorrow. If we get a hot PPI just like CPI, we could see a temporary dip just like how we saw today on CPI. So we could be revisiting 600 or so, or even below that if we get a hot report. So just keep that in mind. And then after that comes out, it all depends. If we get a hot PPI, if the data is not good, we're looking for 600 as our target. If we reject off 500 or 605, if we're bullish, you want to break 605 and go up to 608. It could go either way depending on this. But even if we do pump higher, okay, even if SPY does hit 608 and we get a good inflationary report, the question is what's going to happen with Trump's tariffs? And that's a big unknown. It depends on what he ends up saying, to what extent will he raise them. If he's aggressive on tariffs, we could be making a big move down as the most likely possibility. We could be looking for another move like this to drag us even lower if he's very aggressive. So it depends on what he ends up announcing, how he announces them. That's going to be another big factor. I don't want to scare you guys. I know that many of you guys have been waiting ever since I've been making these videos, and they keep on saying tomorrow they're going to come out. So we'll see about that. But we'll see how the tariffs affect things. Do they cause the market to dump more? Do we bounce? So just keep this in mind. If we're bullish tomorrow, we're easily going to 608 plus. If we're bearish, we're going to be losing 600 and dumping. We could go either way, but this depends on what is announced. And then Donald Trump's tariffs could be an external factor, so get ready for those. That's all I can really tell you. Watch your levels just to be safe. Technically, we are a bit more bullish, but we'll see depending on the inflationary numbers. The QQQ looks bullish because we have a nice looking double bottom here. A nice accumulation has been forming. If we're bullish on the QQQ, we're looking for an attempt to get back up towards the 530s. So 533 would be our target or above. We could even go higher than that if we're bullish. And if we get a good report, this also looks like a nice accumulation with an inverse head and shoulders. So we do look bullish as the most likely possibility when it comes to technical analysis. We favor 533 on the QQQ. Now, with PPI being accounted for, we're looking for essentially 533 as our bullish target, and our bearish target is going to be a move back down to about 525. If that fails us, we could easily start dipping to lower levels, very close to the lows of the day. Now, these are the moves that are going to be made by PPI. We either pump more or we dump. I can't promise that. It depends on the data. But then even after the data comes out, if Trump makes his announcements, if he's aggressive on tariffs, even if we pump, we could come back down afterwards and still see a big rejection if the guy ends up making an aggressive move. And if it's the opposite, if Donald Trump, not the opposite. Even if we do get a dump initially with PPI, if Donald Trump announces tariffs and he's aggressive, we could even dump even more. There could be another big move down. So it depends on what Donald Trump says. So this is the way I'm viewing the markets, guys. I hope this is easy to understand. We'll see just to be safe what Donald Trump ends up saying. On the Russell 2000, we're looking a bit more bullish. We're favoring a move up to about 226 back up to these EMAs. The bearish case is going to be a little bit different, so we'll be watching to see if we turn back down. If we're bearish, you want to see this dump back down to about 220. That's like the more bearish case. This is favoring that the bullish case is more probable that it wants to bounce. But then we'll see what happens with Trump's tariffs. Will he launch this back down afterwards, or will we dump harder? It depends on what Trump says. But this is the most likely possibility, just to be very frank with everyone. For ES, we look bullish. This might be an attempt to form another leg. So I mentioned to everyone that we're making this move like this, where we make these lower highs and lower lows, but then we break out of this channel for the next leg up. That happened the last time. And then looking at the next channel right here, the same thing is developing like this. We're making higher lows. If we break through this channel, we're looking for essentially an attempt to get back up to like 6,200. So there's potential in this, at least nonetheless. So we'll see how things end up going here, especially as we're trying to break out like this. If we reject off this upper trend line of resistance, we could be turning back down towards 6,050 or below. So just to be frank, that's what we're looking for as the most likely possibility. We want to be pushing back up to about 61 at 22 is the most likely possibility. The bearish cases, we do reject off this trend line. We make a move right back down towards the lows at 6,000. But notice that technically, even though we got this rejection, SPY got bought back up. So we are favoring the upwards direction. Even if we do pump higher, right, a move like this is very, very possible back up towards this resistance at 61.25. But the question is, will Donald Trump help this push higher, give us a dump? If he announces these tariffs, we could make a move right back down like this. So just keep that in mind. Could even be more aggressive depending on what he says, even if we'd like to tip from here. It depends on what Donald Trump says. So keep that in mind. But for now, the most likely possibility is this, us trying to go a little bit higher. We'll see depending on PPI. I can't promise anything because it depends on the data. For NQ, we're looking bullish because we also have that inverse head and shoulders like pattern that the QQQ has, especially as we're trying to break this resistance. This is favoring 22,000 plus as the most likely possibility. That depends on our inflationary numbers. If we get bad inflationary numbers, we could be tipping back down to 21,500, and we'll see if we bounce off that. But then we also have the Donald Trump tariffs. Will that cause another dump like this? We'll have to see about that. It all depends on what Trump ends up saying. It does, we do favor downside because the market has dumped every time Trump has announced tariffs so far. So be careful. We favor upside right now. The market looks like it wants to pump higher, wants to push, but whether or not that truly happens may depend on these tariffs and factors like that. It depends on PPI than tariffs, so just keep that in mind. But we do look bullish. Bitcoin's looking bullish. It looks like it wants to go up to about 99,000. That looks like the potential target on Bitcoin. We're looking more bullish here. It looks like it wants to be going up here. So we look bullish. Whether we continue to hold these levels or not depends on PPI and what Donald Trump says. If we get a rejection, we're looking for a move back down to 96,000. If we're bullish and we break 99,000, we're going up to 101,000. Could go either way, but we favor upside for now. It looks like it wants to go to about 99,000. And we'll see if we break past that or not, depending on the PPI report and then Donald Trump's tariffs. On Nvda, we're very bullish because we're making higher lows over and over again. Now, for the short term, I think that it's waiting for the tariff news that could affect us if Donald Trump announces tariffs on like Taiwan or other countries. We're nearing a bearish cross on the PPO, so it's a little bit weak here. We're looking for 128s to be tested. And then we'll see if we bounce off this or not. If we break 135 on Nvidia, I think we fill the gap up to 140. So watch 135 as our resistance, which is where we have this range. And if we end up losing 128, we're looking for a dip back down towards 125 or below. Could go either way, but just know that at least technically speaking, we're on a bit of an uptrend. This looks like it might dip a little bit to about 128 or below for the short term, but the medium term is still more bullish in terms of this trend. That's what I'm seeing for Nvidia. Please keep in mind that other factors may include what happens with PPI and then the tariffs, especially on Asian countries, which affect the production of semiconductors. Keep that in mind, especially for Taiwan. For Tesla, we're looking pretty decent. It looks like it wants to bounce just temporarily. Okay. But I do want to warn you guys that we have to be careful with all the news that's coming out. As long as Tesla could try to hold above 340 tomorrow, we could favor a move up to about 351, very close to filling that gap. It also aligns with our 20 EMA. So there's a nice confluence right there. And if we're bearish, depending on our data tomorrow, we want to see us lose 330. If that does not hold us, then I could be looking for this to dip back down towards 322. So lose 330, we're bearish. Break 340, we're more bullish. We'll be watching to see which way this breaks depending on the news and our tariffs. Right now, it favors the upside for 345 or so. But then At the same time, it may push a little bit, but there's going to be a risk of a rejection if we get some bad news, such as like tariffs or something else happens. Tesla is known for having lots of bad news recently, so it might push a bit. And we'll see if we reject between the 340s and 350s. So please be very careful with it. Yes, I think it pushes a bit more, but we'll see just to be safe. Apple's looking bullish. As long as we're above 235, we're favoring a push for 240, at least technically. And if we lose 235, we're looking for 232 as our support. So these are the moves. The bullish case is coming back up to this liquidity zone, and the bearish case is going to be us losing support here and dipping to about 232. This is looking more probable, though, the fact that we want to push higher. Although we look like this, it depends on our PPI report. It also depends on Donald Trump. So we'll see. We might push. If we do get a push with PPI, just be careful because we'll see how the Donald Trump and tariffs end up affecting us. If Trump's tariffs are imposed, we'll see if that affects more of Apple's products. So please keep that in mind. For the rest of these, I'm just going to talk about what technical analysis is suggesting. Netflix is looking bullish. Okay, we're looking very, very bullish so far on Netflix. It looks like this wants to be pushing back up to about 1,040 plus. It looks like it's going to try to push higher, but get ready in case we get some negative news. For now, we look bullish. MSTR looks a bit more bullish. We're going to be looking for an attempt for 336. Could be pushing higher if we break past our 20 EMA. We'll see just to be safe. Celsius is dipping right here. We'll have to see if we get back above 22. Otherwise, we favor a move closer to about the 20.5 area. It's on a bit of a downtrend right now, so just be careful with this setup. So we'll see. Might be dipping back down to 20.5. For Supermicro on a bit of a downtrend, we're going to be testing 38.1 here. We bumped really hard after earnings before dipping back down. So I think we test 38.1. If that does not hold us, we dip to 34, forming a double top. Looks a little bit weak. Might dip a little bit more to at least 38.1. So I do anticipate some downside. And we'll see how CPI and Donald Trump's tariffs affect this. For now, it does look a little bit more bearish. For Palantir, we look more bullish. We dumped only to bounce very, very nicely. This is favoring that it wants to go up to about 120 and then eventually 125. We're doing a great job so far at holding up, so we'll see if the move lasts. Otherwise, it's looking a bit more bullish. That depends on data, of course. Rivian looks more bullish, looking for an attempt for about 12.65. We're range bound right here, trading sideways, so I just see some consolidation. SoFi is still technically inside of this wedge, not really getting much of a break yet. It's just going back and forth. But I'm just trying to be very clear that we're on a downtrend. We're making lower highs right here, and we could be dipping closer to like the low 14s before it tries to break out. We need to break 15.37 to turn bullish. Otherwise, we're on a bit of a downtrend. AMD is trying to bounce right here. We're looking for essentially 113.25. If that breaks, we're looking for a bigger push, especially as we have this imbalance. If we end up losing 108, we're looking for a dip, but this is looking a little bit more bullish. I think I could be favoring 113, and we'll see if we break past that or not. ARM is looking bearish. It's on a bit of a downtrend right here. There's a falling wedge, but there's no break yet. So this may continue to downtrend closer to about the 155 area, and eventually back down towards 151. Coin is looking more bullish. As long as we don't end up losing 279, we're favoring a push for essentially 285. If we lose 279, we're going to be dipping to 276 again, but this looks more bullish to me. For others out there, we also happen to have Amazon. Amazon's doing a great job at holding up, at least thus far. We're going to be looking for an attempt to get back up towards we're looking decent so far. This might dip a little bit before it tries to bounce. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a liquidity grab at 230 before this turns back down. So it's not looking the best, but I'm just going to say that it depends on our data. Look for 230 to be retested. Maybe rejection is the most likely technical move. On the other hand, we have Meta looking very bullish. It dipped after CPI came out and then bounced. So it looks like it wants to be approaching 730 very soon. We need to lose 715 to turn bearish. Otherwise, it's still favoring upside. Microsoft looking so. We're at 408 is our support. If that fails us, we're looking for 405. We'll see if that holds or not. Google's on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to be watching 183 to see if that holds as our main support. GameStop is in the middle. It is likely going to be dipping to where this gap is around the 24 area, so just keep that in mind. AMC, same thing. It's looking a little bit more bullish, but not really. It's not really making a massive move. We're going to be looking for essentially 3.62 as our target. DJT may react to the tariffs for tomorrow if Trump does announce them, so it's consolidating right now. I would love to see 30.7 break to turn bullish. The VIX is in the middle. It's trading sideways here. We'll have to see if we get a break or not. This could be dipping a little bit, so we'll see about that. We're kind of stuck, though, just to be very, very clear. So give this some time as it remains very indecisive. The 10-year pushed, and so did the dollar pushed a tiny bit after CPI came out. So for now, the market is, I would say, a bit indecisive. We are favoring upside on SPY, the QQQ, and many other tickers. Even Tesla wants to push it a little bit. But whether or not we get big upside or not is going to depend on PPI. Hopefully this tries to push us higher, but even if it does, we will have to see what the big guy Donald Trump has to say. The reports are saying now tomorrow he's going to be announcing his tariffs. The White House is saying the same thing. They're saying that tomorrow, before he meets up with Modi, he's going to be making that announcement about the tariffs he's going to impose on a bunch of different countries, from Japan to South Korea to the EU countries. So I don't know for sure if this is going to truly happen because of how much it's been delayed. But right now, it's looking like that's the most likely possibility. So just keep this in mind to be safe. It's okay to have this in the back of your guys' heads and just be ready just in case. So we'll see what he says. With that being said, I thank you for listening. Have a good rest of your day. Get ready for these catalysts, and just know that right now the market is favoring upside. We'll see how things go going into tomorrow. So I'll be back before PPI comes out to give you guys another update. I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.